Good morning and welcome to Arise Africa. My name is Michael Mwikamba. So we start today's show with a segment I like to call the catch-up. This is just a roundup of what you might have missed in the headlines around the globe recently. Kicking us off, more development on what was happening in Gaza. Israeli military says that it has carried out 3 airstrike attacks in Gaza, ending a 12-hour lull at the fighting that starts a major Muslim holiday. The fighter jets reportedly hit 2 missile launchers and a rocket in a rocket factory, in what defense spokesman said that it was as a response to the earlier Hamas rocket fired into the Israeli. It comes as the UN Security Council called for an immediate and conditional humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza following the emergency session held in New York. The Council has adopted the presidential statement that is urging the Israeli and Hamas to accept and fully implement the humanitarian ceasefire. A 12-hour temporary truce agreed ahead of the Muslim festival of Eid went all the way to 12 p.m. That is noon on UK time, if we are to put it that way. However, the information from Gaza says that 3 of the almost consistent third of the artillery fire coming from the area of Gaza has been pounded pretty hard. There certainly isn't a ceasefire here. All the best to what has been seen in lack of violence, and I quote. Several temporary truces have been observed and broken on the weekend when the Palestinian death topped 1,000. Some 43 Israeli soldiers have also been killed since the military began operations on 8th, while 3 civilians have died from the rocket fire into Israel. As well as calling for an immediate truce of the Security Council statement set on a longer term and says that democratic states of Israeli and Palestinian with the secure and recognized borders. Riyad Mansour, who is the Palestinian representative to the UN, said that he was disappointed that the formal resolution demanding Israeli withdrawal for the forces from Gaza strips have been agreed on. As you can see on our screen, a picture from Gaza. That is what is happening at Gaza. A lot of buildings being blown up, even after they said that they were having a ceasefire. You can see smoke, clouds of smoke bewildering the town, masking the town, rather, on that. So following on another story, the black box data from the downed Malaysian airline plane revealed that the jet crashed due to massive explosive decompression after being hit by a shrapnel, what a word, from the missile that claims Ukrainian security officer. Andrei Lysenko, the spokesman for the Ukraine Security Council, said that the information came from experts analyzing the flight recorder from MH17, which was shot down in the eastern Ukraine, killing 298 people on board. Air accident expert Farnborough of Hampshire said that it has been tasked with downloading the data from the 2 boxes and passing information on the international investigators. The Western countries blame rebels for shooting down the airline with a missile and mistaking it for a Ukrainian plane, but the separatists deny its involvement. You can see from the pictures on my screen the retrieved black box with reporters and specialists acting on it. And meanwhile, the Dutch team of the Australian police is making a fresh attempt to reach for the crash site again after being forced to turn back after the explosion in the area. Ukraine rebels say that they have lost control over the part of the MH17 crash site in the face to push by the government forces. You can see more photos, a closer view of the black boxes that have been withdrawn from the plane, from the crash site. This is what on your screen you can see. This is a more clear diagram that even shows you the specific parts of the black box in the Malaysian airline, where the Australia's Deputy Commissioner and the National Security Andrew Colvin said that the evidence risk is being lost amid continuing clashes, and have the chance of finding the remain of the death grows slimmer as it went on. I actually hope this war ends soon, because this is a lot of devastation following that the crashes happened repeatedly in Israel, Ukraine, and all over. We've reported like 4 crashes, this Malaysian one, MH17, being one of the latest one. From the screen, you can see the pictures with a lot of reporters. They're trying to get a closer view, and we're giving you those pictures now. So moving on, an Israeli missile reportedly hit a compound housing Gaza's largest hospital, causing casualties. It struck the building close to the main gate of Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, a Palestinian police and medics told the reporters. And the attack came moments after the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon linked the conflicts to a man-made hurricane, saying the whole neighborhood has been reduced to rubble. He demanded that we should end the violence, he demanded that we should end the violence in the name of humanity, and he accused the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas leaders Khalid Mashal from being irresponsible and morally wrong, putting it in his own people at risk to be killed. The Secretary General called on them to demonstrate political will and compassionate leadership to end the suffering. He said Gaza was in a critical condition following that Israeli strike was a result to death of hundreds of Palestinian civilians, and said that he raised the serious question about priority. You can see from our photos on screen, debris from buildings that have collapsed from the attacks and from the war that is going on in Israel. You can see our children in hospitals in pain, bloody images. Some photos are actually very graphic, so couldn't even post them on your screen. And from what you're seeing, there's a lot of devastation in Gaza, even following the new attack on. Wow, that is a big explosion. As you can see on my screen, I don't know if you're looking at the screen the way I'm seeing it. It's a big explosion. Yes, and following the next story around Africa now, most borders crossing in Liberia have been closed, and communities hit by Ebola outbreak face quarantine to try and hold the spread of the virus. Screening centers have also been set up in a few major entry points to remain open, such as the main airport. Meanwhile, Nigeria's largest airline, Arik Air, has suspended all its flights to Sierra Leone after a man with Ebola flew into the country last week. The virus has killed at least 660 people in West Africa since February. And the outbreak began in southern Guinea and spread to Liberia and Sierra Leone, being the world deadliest so far. Nigeria has put its entry point on the red alert after confirming that the Liberian man had died of Ebola after arriving in Lagos airport on Tuesday. Ebola kills up to 90% of those infected, but patients have a better chance of survival if they get treatment early. That is just a hint on how dangerous Ebola is, and it spreads through contact of infected person on bodily fluids. From the screen, you can see people masking themselves, doctors and specialists masking themselves because they do not want to get into contacts of the virus. That's how deadly the virus is. And Arik Air said that it took the decision to halt the fight as a precautionary measure and called for inbound flights from Nigeria or from Nigeria or from any Ebola-affected countries to be suspended. And I quote, "We feel especially compelled to take our business decision to immediately suspend the flight services into Ebola countries due to the interest of the well-being of the Nigerians." Those are the words from the airline, which operates route across West Africa, and say that was what it was said in a statement. Pictures on our screen of what is going on. And not to forget to mention that on Sunday, in a statement, the Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf said that Ebola force she was heading, it would ensure that the communities that are seriously affected will be quarantined, and will travel in and out of the communities would be restricted. That was that, and so we go on a short break. But when we come back, we bring you Arise Business.